Hello students, good morning all of you. So today we are going to discuss the solid state of class 12. And before we are going to start the solid state, to understand this topic well, you should know more imaginary part. This is more imaginary part. You should imagine it, where the atoms are present. Okay, and how many of faces are there, how many of face diagrams are there, how many body diagrams are there. So this is a more imaginary part now. So the people who imagine it well, they can easily understand this topic. So try to imagine it. So here I am trying to explain you in detail, in clear, so that after finishing this chapter, you definitely will be clear about this topic. Okay. So let us restart. So as we know, the matter, anything which occupies the space, we call it as matter. And the three physical states of matter: one is the solid state, liquid state, and gaseous state. Now solid state. So what is the main difference between the solids, liquids and gases? Solids, they the constituent particles are what? Regularly arranged. So in solid state, the constituent particles are regularly arranged. Okay. Next one. Whereas in the liquids and gases, they are the constituent particles. What constituent particles means it may be atoms, molecules, ions, whatever it may be. So in solids, these constituent particles are very orderly arranged. Okay. Whereas in liquids and gases, they are not regularly or orderly arranged. And based upon the constituent particles, okay, and based upon that, the solids, the types of solids, let us continue. Types of solids. Solids we are dividing into two types based upon their arrangement. Okay, so one is crystalline solids. Crystalline solids. The second one is amorphous solids. Amorphous solids. What are the main differences between the crystalline solids and amorphous solids? So in crystalline solids, and this crystalline solids also we call it as what? True solids. True solids. Okay. So whereas in amorphous solids, they are pseudo solids. So sometimes we call them as super cooled liquids also. Okay. Next one, whereas in crystalline solids, the constituent particles are highly ordered. Okay. So here the constituent particles are regularly arranged. Whereas in amorphous solids, the constituent particles are somewhat irregular comparative with the crystalline solids. In amorphous solids, the constituent particles are irregularly arranged. Whereas in this crystalline solids, that regular arrangement is long range order. So here there was long range order. Okay, whereas in amorphous solids, that arrangement is short range order, only until very short distances only this regular arrangement is there. Thereafter again it will be irregular. Okay, and this crystalline solids are having sharp melting points, because in these crystalline solids the constituent particles are highly ordered. So because of highly ordered manner, they are having very sharp melting points. But the amorphous solids are not having sharp melting points. Okay, so in between, okay, a range of melting point is there. Range of melting points. That means the melting point is in between 10 to 20 degrees. Okay, 273 to 373 Kelvin. So like this. Okay, it's a range of melting points only we will give for amorphous solids. And one more thing, in crystalline solids they shows anisotropic image. Anisotropic image. Whereas amorphous solids are what? Isotropic image. Isotropic image. What do you mean by the anisotropic image? Anisotropic means the phenomena, the property of showing difference in different directions. Okay, this property is different in different directions. Okay, and that phenomenon we call it as what? Anisotropic nature. Whereas isotropic means they shows the same value in all directions. Okay, same property in all directions. So that is called isotropic in nature. So examples for crystalline solids. And one more thing, one more difference. Suppose if you cut the crystalline solid with the sharp edge tool, we get the smooth surfaces. Okay, on cutting these crystalline solids, we will get smooth surfaces. Smooth surfaces. Whereas in amorphous solids, rough surfaces will come. Rough surfaces on cutting. Okay, so these are the some main differences between crystalline solids and amorphous solids. And examples for crystalline solids are NaCl, diamond, CaF2, KCl, red phosphorus, etc. Like this, you can give so many examples for crystalline solids. Whereas for amorphous solids, glass, rubber, plastic. Even the plastic is also comes under amorphous solids. So these are the main differences between crystalline solids and amorphous solids. Next, let us be again based upon the type of the constituent particles. Again, we further classify the crystalline solids into following categories. So classification of crystalline solids. Classification of crystalline solids. So based upon the constituent particles, we are mainly dividing the crystalline solids into following types. So the first one is, if the constituent particles are molecules. Okay, if the constituent particles are what? Molecules, then that we call those crystalline solids as molecular solids. Okay, suppose the constituent particles are what? Atoms. Then we call them as covalent solids. If the constituent particles are ions, then we call them as ionic solids. If the constituent particles are metal ions or kernels, then we call them as what? Metallic solids. So based upon the constituent particles present in the crystalline solids, again the crystalline solids are further classifying into if the constituent particles are molecules, then we call them as molecular solids. If it is atoms, then covalent solids. If they are ions, then ionic solids. If they are metal atoms or kernels, then we call them as metallic solids. Again, the molecules means what? It may be a polar molecule, non-polar molecule, or hydrogen containing molecules. So again, the molecular solids are further classified into three types. Under the molecular solids, if the molecule is a polar molecule, then polar molecular solids. If the molecule is a non-polar, then non-polar molecular solids. If the molecule is a hydrogen containing molecules, then we call them as hydrogen bonded molecular solids. So molecular solids again have three types: polar, non-polar, and hydrogen bonded. Coming to the covalent solids, and examples for this, you take any polar molecules. Okay, for example, you take HCl. Okay, so HCl is a polar molecule, and non-polar molecules means you take any non-polar molecules, similar homoatomic molecules. So, and the hydrogen bonding means HF, HBr, HI, H2O. So when the H2O is in a solid state, so these are coming under hydrogen bonded molecular solids. Next, coming to the covalent solids. Covalent solids means where the constituent particles are what? Atoms. Okay, examples for this is diamond, and then black phosphorus, and S8 will not come. So black phosphorus. So here the constituent particles are what? Atoms. Okay. Next one, ions. So for ions, best example NaCl. So what is the interactions between ionic interactions? Then here in between the atoms, which interactions are present? Covalent interactions are present. Whereas here ionic interactions are present. Kernels. Kernels means what? Metal ions we call them as kernels. And the metal ions are surrounded by what? Electrons. Okay, that is what we call as electronic pool. Between the electronic pool and metal ions, kernels, some kind of electrostatic interactions are there. Okay, and those electrostatic interactions are acting as what? Force of attractions between the metal ions and electrons. Okay, anyhow. So, metallic solids, all metals, most of the metals, okay, are examples for what? Crystalline solids. Okay, so this is about the classification of crystalline solids. And one more thing, conductivity, if you see polar molecular solids, non-polar molecular solids, hydrogen bonded molecular solids, all will act as what? Insulators. All they are what? Insulators. Whereas covalent solids, if you take the covalent solid here, diamond and graphite. So if you take the diamond, black phosphorus, if you take them, diamond, what happens? Diamond is what? Bad conductor. Whereas graphite is what? Good conductor of electricity. What is the reason? In diamond, all the 4 electrons are participating in the covalent bond formation. Whereas in graphite, only 3 electrons only participating in the bond formation. Every carbon atom having 1 free electron, and those free electrons are what? Resulting the conduction of electricity from one place to another place. That is why diamond and remaining all covalent solids are what? Conductors. Bad conductors. Insulators. Simply bad conductors are nothing but insulators. Whereas graphite is a good conductor. Next, one more thing, ionic solids. As we know, ionic solids, when they are in solid state, in solid state what happens? Those constant particles are what? Tightly packed, and there was a strong interactions between them. And because of the tight packing, the ion cannot move from one place to another place. That is why when the ionic solids in solid state, okay, they are bad conductors. Whereas if you melt that ionic solid, that means in molten state, ionic solids in molten state, they are good conductors of electricity. So coming to the metal ions, as we know, metal ions are what? Good conductors of electricity. So these are the good conductors. Ionic solids are conductors in molten state but bad conductors in solid state. And the diamond and the remaining most of the covalent solids are what? Bad conductors except graphite, and these are what? Insulators. So these are the classification and the properties of the crystalline solids. Now let us move to the next concept, that is what? Cube. So before we are going ahead, okay, we should know the parameters of cube. In a cube, how many corners, edges and all. So the parameters of cube you should be clear. And also before we further, okay, we should clear about some terms. What are the terms required to understand the solid state level? Okay, let us discuss. So if you take the cube, so like this I have taken a 3D cube. Okay, in that cube, this is what. Okay, in this cube, tell me how many of, so this is what combination of how many cubes? 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, 6, 7, 8. Total 8 cubes are there. Okay, so it's like an apartment. In an apartment, in the ground floor, 4 plots, and in the first floor, 4 plots. 4 plots. Total how many plots? 8 plots in a what? In an apartment like this. Okay, so now I am taking a small cube. So now what I write in this cube? Okay, I am cutting this cube and bringing into here. So the atom is at here, this atom. Clear? Okay, now in this cube, for a cube, how many corners are present? You just imagine it, this is your classroom is what? 1 cube. In this cube, how many corners are present? So if you take the corners, so total how many corners? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So number of corners in a cube, how many? 8 corners are there. Next one, how many faces are there? Faces. So you just imagine that is a one face, this is another face. Left side, right side, 2 faces, top and bottom. Total how many faces are there? 6 faces are there. So number of faces are 6 faces are there. Okay. Next one, how many edges are there? Edges. Okay. So if you take the edges, so 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 edges. 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 edges. 9, 10, 11, 12. 12. Total how many edges are there? 12 edges are there. Okay, so number of edges are 12. Okay, clear now. Corners are 8 corners, faces are 6 faces, edges are what? 12 edges. Next, come to the face diagonals. Face diagonals. So, face diagonals means, suppose if you consider this is I am taking this is one face. Okay. In that face, if we connect the 2 opposite corners, in a particular face, if we connect 2 opposite corners, see here, this is one face, top face. In that face, I am connecting these 2 opposite corners. That is one face diagonal. Similarly, that is one more face diagonal. So, in a face, okay, how many face diagonals are there? 2 face diagonals are there in one face. Total how many faces are there? 6 faces are there. Like this, in a cube, how many face diagonals are possible? 12 face diagonals are possible. So number of face diagonals are how many? 12 face diagonals. Understood? In one single face, 2 face diagonals are there. Total 6 faces are there. 6 2s are 12 face diagonals. Next one, body diagonal. Body diagonal means you take the whole cube. In that cube, if we connect any 2 opposite corners, any 2 opposite, not in a face, in a whole body. Suppose you consider this is a room. This is one cube. Total how many corners are there? 8 corners are there. The top 4 corners, bottom 4 corners. You connect any 2 opposite corners. That means that corner and this corner, one body diagonal. That corner and this corner, if we connect, this is another body diagonal. And that corner and this corner, one body diagonal. Okay, and this corner and that corner, one body diagonal. Total how many body diagonals are there? 4 body diagonals are there. Clear? So number of body diagonals. Number of body diagonals are how many? 4 body diagonals are there. Okay. And number of body centers, only at the center of the body only one center is there. So number of body centers 1. So once again, number of corners are 8, faces are 6, number of edges are 12, face diagonals are 12, and body diagonals are 4, and body centers are 1. Okay. And we have a formula, face diagonal formula. So what is the formula for the face diagonal? So face diagonal distance is equal to root 2a. Root 2a. So this face diagonal formula, for example, in a cube, if you consider each edge length is a, and this is one face diagonal. Okay, a and a. Okay, this is the hypotenuse of 2 edges. Okay, what is the formula for the hypotenuse now? Square root of side square plus side square. So square root of a square plus a square. So what is the final formula? Root 2a will come. So the face diagonal is equal to root 2a. Next one, body diagonal is equal to. Body diagonal formula root 3a. Body diagonal is equal to root 3a. Just remember this. Hope this information will help you. And also few terms also you should be aware. In that the first term is coordination number. Coordination number. This coordination number also we called as NNA, nearest neighboring spheres or atoms, NNS. So what do you mean by the coordination number? Coordination number is nothing but number of spheres attached with or number of spheres surrounding to a particular sphere. A number of spheres that are directly contacting with a particular sphere. Okay, that is what we call it as what? Coordination number. Okay. Next examples. For example, you take in one-dimensional manner, all the spheres are connected like this. Okay. In this, if you take this sphere, and this sphere is connecting with how many of other spheres? It is connecting with the left side one sphere, right side one sphere. So here coordination number is what? 2. Suppose if you take the 2D manner, in 2D manner like this, in square closed pattern, if you take 3 layers I am taking. Okay, so why we are calling this a square closed pattern? Because if you take any one corner and if you connect the 4 neighboring spheres, this sphere is connecting with how many of neighboring spheres? 4 neighboring spheres. What are those? 1, 2, 3, 4. So the coordination number here is 4. And when we connect the centers of these 4 nearest neighbors, what we are getting? Square we are getting. Okay, that is why we are calling this is what? Square closed pattern. Square closed pattern. So in square closed pattern, what is the coordination number? 4 is the coordination number. Next one, suppose if it is a hexagon. So what is the difference between this one? Here all 3 layers are AA type only, just above one. Okay, whereas here this is the A layer and the second layer B layer is on the grooves of the first layer. Okay, not exactly on the above of first layer. The B layer is on the grooves of the first layer. Similarly, the third layer is again the same as the first layer. Okay, AB type. So, and if you take any one sphere, and this sphere is connecting with how many of neighboring spheres? 6 other neighboring spheres. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So, where the coordination number is what? 6. And when you connect these all, okay, we are getting hexagon. So, this is what? Hexagonal closed pattern. So, like this. Coordination number is nothing but what? That with the number of neighboring spheres, a particular sphere is directly contacting. That number we call it as what? Coordination number, or simply we call it as number of nearest neighboring spheres. Okay. Next one, the second term you should be know. That is what? Z. Z is also we call it as effective number of atoms. Effective number of atoms. Also called rank. Rank. What is rank or effective number of atoms? It is nothing but the number of atoms present in a particular unit cell. Okay, that number we call it as what? Effective number of atoms. For example, if you take simple cubic unit cell, the Z value for simple cubic is 1. Whereas in FCC, if you take, the Z value is 4. And in BCC, if you take, the Z value is again 2. Okay, like this. And HCP, if you take, the Z value is again 6. Okay, so this is what? effective number of atoms present in a particular unit cell. We will discuss what is SC, what is FCC, BCC, HCP. We will discuss. Don't be worried. Here just know what is the effective number Z value for a particular unit cell. Okay, so this is the second term, and the third term. The third term you should know what is that? Packing efficiency. Packing efficiency. And before the packing efficiency, you should know contribution. When the atom is present in the corner, when the atom is present at the face center, when the atom is present at the body center, what is their contribution? See here location and their contribution. Contribution of the sphere to a particular unit cell. Suppose if the atoms are present at the corners, if the atoms are present at a one corner, and that one corner is belongs to how many unit cells? That corner is belongs to 8 unit cells. That means how much part belongs to a particular unit cell? Only 1 by 8. So the contribution of a corner by a unit cell is 1 by 8. Okay, and if the atom is at a face center, if the atom is at the face center, you remember that in any unit cell, the face center is always belongs to 2 unit cells only. So the contribution is always be 1 by 2 in any unit cell. You take even HCP also. Whereas in case of body center for any unit cell, the center of the body is always be 1 and it belongs to that particular unit cell only. So its contribution is 1. Whereas in case of edge center, total how many edges are there? 12 edges are there. But each edge belongs to how many other units? You just take that corner, that edge, and that edge belongs to how many unit cells now? That edge belongs to the neighboring room, and that neighboring room, and that neighboring room. So this side in this row 2 rooms. And that row 2 rooms. Total how many rooms it is common? 4. Okay. So how much part is belongs to a particular unit cell? Only 1 by 4. So the contribution of an edge per a unit cell is what? 1 by 4. Okay. So this is an FCC or whatever cubic lattice. But here in HCP there was a small variation in HCP. In HCP if you take corner, each corner is belongs to how many of other unit cells? In HCP lattice, each corner is belongs to 6 other unit cells only in HCP, whereas in the remaining cubes 1 by 8. Only in HCP the corner is belongs to 6 other unit cells. So how much contribution it is for one unit cell? 1 by 6. 1 by 6. Similarly, edges if you take, edge center if you take in HCP, okay, it is 1 by 3. Just remember, in cubic corners are 8 and their edge centers are 1 by 4. Exactly double to this. Here corner is 1 by 6, contribution definitely for edge center is 1 by 3, double of it. So just remember this difference between the cube and HCP lattices. So this is the location and the contribution. Next to packing efficiency, the fourth term you should be aware. So what is the fourth term of packing efficiency? What is the packing efficiency? Packing fraction or packing efficiency is nothing but packing fraction. First let us recalculate. Packing fraction is nothing but the volume occupied by the atoms within the total volume. You just imagine. So this is the classroom. This is one unit cell. The volume of the unit cell. Suppose if our classroom is considered as a cube, what is the volume and the edge length of this cube is A if we consider. What is the total volume of this classroom? A cube. We know the formula. In the total volume of A cube, some volume already we have occupied, and the volume occupied by the persons divided by the total volume of the cube, and that ratio we call it as what? Packing fraction. So packing fraction is nothing but the volume occupied by atoms or spheres divided by the total volume of cube. So that is equal to, Suppose if you want packing efficiency, you multiply this with 100, you will get packing efficiency. So coming to the volume occupied by the sphere. First of all, you should know the number of spheres present in a particular unit cell, right? So Z is the number of spheres present in each unit cell. Okay, Z is the number of spheres present in that particular unit cell. Z is nothing but rank, already we discussed. Into the volume occupied by each sphere. What is the formula? 4 by 3 pi r cube. 4 by 3 pi r cube divided by total volume of the cube is a cube. So by using this formula, we can calculate the packing fraction of any unit cell. So these are the four terms. Okay, if you are clear about these four terms, why? Because after we cross this concept, in between we will discuss, we talk about the packing fraction of the so and so unit cell, the rank of the unit cell. Okay, and the contribution is like this. We keep on going without discussing it. That is why if you clear these terms, then you feel very easy about this concept. Next, let us we discuss what is unit cell. Unit cell. Unit cell is nothing but it is the smallest part of the crystal lattice, total crystal lattice, and which repeats in a 3D manner. We get the total complete crystal, and that smallest portion of the crystal we call it as what? Unit cell. So unit cell is nothing but the smallest portion of crystal, the smallest portion of the crystal which repeats in three-dimensional manner. Three-dimensional manner means in all the possible directions. In three-dimensional manner gets the complete crystal. Okay, and the smallest portion we call it as what? Unit cell. Okay, for example, if you take the rice, how can you check whether the rice was cooked or not? Just a small grain. If the grain was cooked, then the entire rice was cooked. In the same way, this is the smallest portion of the entire crystal. If you study that smallest portion, whatever the properties that smallest portion is showing, the same properties are shown by all the entire crystal. Okay, and the smallest portion which completely shows the properties of the entire crystal lattice, and the smallest portion we call it as what? Unit cell. And these unit cells, primarily we are classifying these unit cells into two types. Okay, so that is what? Unit cells. Okay, primarily we are classifying into two types. What are those? Primitive unit cell. Primitive unit cells. Also what? Simple cubic. And centered cubic cells. Centered unit cells. Primitive unit cells and centered unit cells. Primitive unit cells are nothing but if the constituent particles are present only at corners. Okay, here the constituent particles are present only at the corners. Then that unit cell we call it as what? Primitive unit cell. Okay, also we call it as simple cubic unit cell. And centered unit cells, along with the corners, some constituent particles are present at the center of the body. Center means either it may be face center or edge centered or body centered. So again, the centered unit cells were further classified, dividing into three categories. One is what? Face centered cubic unit cell. Next one, body centered cubic unit cell. And the third one, edge centered cubic unit cell. FCC, BCC and ECC. Face centered means here, along with the corners, here the constituent particles are also present at the face centers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Okay. Okay, so these are the 8 atoms at 8 corners and the 6 atoms at the 6 face centers. Okay, that is what we call as face centered cubic units. Next one, BCC, body centered cubic units. It is nothing but here atoms are present at the corners. Along with the corners, the atoms also present at the center of the body. Center of the body. Then the unit cell we call it as what? Body centered cubic units. Next, third one, edge centered cubic units. Edge centered is nothing but here the constant particles are present at the corners. Along with the corners, the atoms are also present at the centers of 12 edges. How many edges are there? 12 edges are there. Centers of the edges. So this is one center. So like this. That is what we call as edge center. So understood. So based upon the arrangement of the constituent particles, the unit cells are primarily classified into two types: primitive and centered. Centered again, face centered. Okay, face centered, body centered, and edge centered. Clear? Next one. So this is one classification. The second classification is what? We are basically the unit cells. Okay, so by taking x, y coordinates, suppose you consider this is the x axis, y axis, and z axis. X, y, and z axis. And the edge lengths are A, B, C you consider. Okay, the edge length along the x axis is A, edge length along the y axis is B, edge length along the z axis is C you consider. Okay, and the angle between AB, BC, CE. The angle between BC you consider as alpha. Angle between B and C, B axis to Z, y axis to Z axis. Between YZ the angle is what? Alpha. Between ZX angle is beta, and between XY the angle is gamma. So like that, if you imagine it, total how many parameters came? So that is total 6 parameters. 3 edge lengths ABC and 3 bond angles alpha, beta, gamma. By taking these 6 parameters, the cubic systems, cubic unit cells, they dividing into 7 basic unit cells. So the types of unit cells. The second classification under the types of unit cells are types of crystal systems. Total how many basic types of unit cells are there? Basically standard types of unit cells are how many? 7 types. What are those? So those 7 types are, just remember this code CTO HTMT. CTO HTMT. Chief Technical Officer, CTO HTMT. Okay, so like this, if you remember, what is the C stands for? C stands for cubic. C stands for cubic. T, that is tetragonal. Okay, T stands for what? Tetragonal. O is what? Orthorhombic. Orthorhombic. This is also we call it as rhombic. Orthorhombic also we call it as rhombic. H stands for hexagonal. Hexagonal. Next, T stands for trigonal. Trigonal. This trigonal also we call it as rhombohedral. Rhombohedral. And M stands for monoclinic. Monoclinic. T stands for triclinic. Triclinic. So like this, the basic standard basic unit cells are how many? 7 types are there. That is cubic, tetragonal, orthorhombic, hexagonal, trigonal, monoclinic, and triclinic. And if you see the parameters, So edge lengths, if you take edge lengths and angles and types of what type of unit systems they shows. So if you take the cubic, if you take the edge lengths in cube, you just take the cube. In cube, what? This edge length, this edge length, this edge, all edge lengths are same now. Simply cubic. So in cubic, A is equal to B is equal to C. Okay, and in tetragonal, two edge lengths are same, but third one is wrong. Not so. This A is equal to B, but C not equal to C. Okay, C is in which axis? C is in Z axis. Okay, two edge lengths are equal, but third one is unequal. Whereas orthorhombic, all are different. A not equal to B not equal to C. Next, if you take the hexagonal, again two edge lengths are same, but third one is unequal again. Okay, and in trigonal, A is equal to B is equal to C. Again, in trigonal, all three edge lengths are again equal. Okay. Next, in monoclinic and triclinic, okay, in these two cases, all three are not equal. Okay, so this is the first. In cubic, A, B, C are equal. In tetragonal, two are equal, but third one is unequal. Here all three are unequal. Here two are equal, third one is unequal. Trigonal, all are equal again. Next, monoclinic to triclinic to, again all are unequal. Next, come to the angles. If you take in cubic, alpha is equal to beta is equal to gamma is equal to 90 degrees. If you take the cube, all angles are perpendicular to each other. Whereas in cubic, tetragonal and orthorhombic, in these first three, all angles are perpendicular. So alpha is equal to beta is equal to gamma is equal to 90 degrees. Alpha, beta, gamma is equal to 90 degrees. First three are all are perpendicular. Next, in hexagonal, in hexagonal, one angle is 120. Which angle? That is, alpha, beta is equal to 90, but gamma is equal to what? 120 degrees. Hexagonal. Next one, trigonal. If you take trigonal, so in this trigonal, alpha is equal to beta, is equal to gamma, but they are not equal to 90 degrees. All are equal, all bond angles are equal, but they are not equal to 90 degrees. Next one, monoclinic and triclinic. In monoclinic, alpha, beta is equal to 90, two angles are 90 degrees, but third one, gamma, not equal to 90 degrees. Okay, monoclinic, one is different. Triclinic, all are unequal. That is, alpha not equal to beta, not equal to gamma, not equal to 90 degrees. All are different. That is what triclinic. Monoclinic means one is different. Whereas third one, triclinic means all three are unequal. So like this you can remember the angles between the edges. Okay, next one, types. In cubic, how many types? So cubic can exist in three types are there. Whereas tetragonal can exist in two. Tetragonal can exist in two ways. Orthorhombic 4. Hexagonal 1. Trigonal 1. Monoclinic 2. Triclinic again 1. What are these? So these are nothing but total how many legacy? 3, 2, 4, 9, 10, 11, 13 and 14. Total 14 different ways of the crystal lattice. So that is what we call as a Bravais lattice. And this 7 standard basic unit cells, okay, are arranged in how many ways? In 14 ways. Okay, total 14 different crystal systems are present in the solids. Okay, now in these three, what are those three? One thing you remember, all the 7 basic unit cells can exist in simple form, primitive form. Okay, so simple cubic is common to all. So 1 is fixed. Okay, 1 is common, that is what simple cubic. In addition to the simple cubic, this centered cubic unit cell, any whether all 3 are present or only 2 are present, only 1 is present, let us say. Here total how many? 3. Out of 3, 1 is fixed. What is the remaining 2 body centers? That is what? 1 is face centered, another one is body centered. The other 2 centered is what? 1 is a face centered, another one is BCC. Next here 2. Out of 2, 1 is a fixed. What is the other one? That is nothing but body centered. Body centered. Next one 4. 4 are there. Out of 4, 1 is a fixed. Simple. Remaining 3, these 3 should be come. There are only total 4 will come. So BCC, FCC, ECC. Next one, hexagonal. Here already one simple cubic fixed. Simple cubic, simple cubic. Next here 2 are there. Whereas in case of monoclinic, in monoclinic simple cubic, in addition to the simple cubic, edge-centered cubic will come. ECC will come. So like this, just remember. Now how they ask you the question? In out of all 7 unit cells, how many BCC cells are there? BCC. So if you check the BCC centered cubic cells, here 1 is there, here 1, and so in how many unit cells the BCC lattice can exist? 3. Clear? In how many of unit cells FCC can exist? FCC present in first, here 2, only 2. So 2 are there. How many simple cubic? All 7. How many edge-centered? 1 and 2 are there. Like this kind of questions they may ask you. And examples, just to go to the NCERT. So by going to the NCERT, you can easily understand the examples for this. So this is about the types of unit cells.